How are you, Miss Vanessa Estelle Williams?
Thank you very much for getting it right the first time, my dear. What a cutie pie you are. I love your hairdo.
Thank you. You know, I'm getting used to her because I just did it for my birthday, and I am
What's
like,
your birthday?
Oh, my birthday was October 29th, and I turned 29. So it's the
Oh,
year.
that's great. That's great. 29,
Thank
29. My son turns 18 today. So I was in labor about 3 hours ago, 18 years ago this time.
Happy anniversary to you. Thank you for your contribution.
Yes. It's his birthday and my Labor Day. Okay.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out for Hollywood Melanin. When I was getting to know who you are and doing my research and due diligence, I realized what came to me was you just have the sense of longevity connected to your career. You were on Soul Food, which was the first long-standing running show with predominantly Black actors. You were also on Melrose Place, and now Candyman, which is a reboot of what you were originally on. So tell me your secret. How do you stay in the game and be as fresh as you are?
Well, I certainly have a commitment to like this being my lifelong passion. So it's not like, you become a doctor and you stop doctoring ever. Like this is what I was born to do, what is my passion and my purpose. And so it's just been so gratifying that those things could align as a living and as a way to activate and talk about and give light to the things that are important to me, like my community, like just the things that I value about humanity. What's marvelous about 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 Melrose Place and Candyman and that connection, that was like the 1-2 punch when I got to LA. Like I had done, Cosby Show and Broadway and lots of features and films well, not lots, one feature film in New York, and then that's the thing that got me to come here and check it out. And booking Candyman like a few months into my stay here, and then when I just came to LA to check it out because I'm a diehard New Yorker and I was going home if LA didn't have it for me. And then to book Melrose Place was the thing that made me stay. There was like, okay, they really want me here. I'll stay in Hollywood. You know what I mean? And so it's just marvelous to have, these kind of full circle moments where they just become enriching, and to have it be a full circle moment that also sees just how much the industry and the fight for our humanity, our full humanity as Black people, come to fruition is just marvelously gratifying. And so I feel like I've been on the forefront of that change that I've wished to see happen in the world. And as I was telling another interviewer, Jordan Peele was on my wish list, my kids' wish list, who are filmmakers and artists themselves, to work with. Like when I talked about made like the specific list of creatives that I wanted to work with in the industry, he was top on my list. So when I heard he was doing the film, I was like, I'm thinking they're gonna need the mama, or someone who survived, the whole drama, to recreate like this soulful sequel. So when I got that call, it was just delightful and marvelous. And then to know that I would get to work with a Black woman director, that they had as creatives, the foresight and really to catch Nia while they could, because now she's off doing Marvel films, to catch this lightning in a bottle, to give space for a Black woman's take on these characters and this because Jordan got a lot of stuff he's doing and is like, let me give this sister, it just speaks to his love for the community, the mission of Monkey Paw, to always be woke and correct with it. And that's also one of the marvelous things that I'm so excited about the DVD and digital release of the film, is that included are these marvelous extras that I always say, I don't know if you got a chance to see it because it was living on the CandymanMovie.com space while the movie was out, and I suppose it's still there, but it's the social impact of the piece, where there's a panel discussion led by Coleman Domingo and all these thought leaders about how this movie, scene by scene, different scenes, speaks to the Black experience, speaks to the Black horror experience, like the impact of horror, Black horror and storytelling in our community and for the society at large, and then even globally, because, you know, this film has a global, like all of our movies out of the US, has a global impact. And because of how it's broken down and spoken to, you know, people are going to get to see what that experience of what is the horror for Black people in all these dynamics and all these ways that the movie so masterfully depicts, right? So we're talking about this Candyman being summoned, but it's a metaphor for the terror and fears that Black people walk around with every single day, that this mom, Anne Marie, you know, had to navigate through to get her child to this miraculous, successful place. You know, the courage to allow him to be an artist, to not demand that he be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. This woman who's like moved on up a little bit from her circumstances, you know, from welfare to being working woman to, you know, she's not quite a nurse, but a nurse's assistant. And that we see, you know, to get to follow her evolution and to have this successful son in an industry that's so uncertain. And it's just a testament to her will as a mom, and it's also such a painful thing to witness and watch and know so directly as a mother myself, you know, that you cannot protect your child from all the systems, the slings and monsters that are out to for his demise.
Right. And so thank you for being you in your position, because it's very clear to me that you know exactly what this means. And like we mentioned, with your longevity of having long-standing signature roles in our community, you're seeing a progress of a Black woman director. You're seeing the progress of the revolution of social awakening happening within the context of a horror movie, because it's been a horrible experience, okay? Let's just call it what it is. But we have overcame, we've been successful, and we are showing that any culture, any race is capable of reaching new heights, no matter where they start. We as a community have shown that.
For sure. I think it's the particular mystifying thing about Black people, truly the Black magic, that through all of that, from coming here in chains, literally, our ancestors, not that long ago, like a few generations back, moved through the agony of coming here in change, the terror of the Reconstruction period, and all of those things that the country would rather fight each other, kill their own brothers and sisters than be united. That's the Civil War. Then the Great Migration, all of these things that are historical and that we've hardly begun to reckon with, and that there's still all these systems in place. We don't want to know the truth. We like this narrative that we've been maintaining. We don't want our children to know the truth. We don't want anything. But, you know, the arc of truth bends, right? And that a lie can't live forever, as Martin Luther King said. And so that it speaks to our tenacity. That's part of our cultural strength. That's part of our heritage. It's how we got by, how we get over, how we continue to thrive and rise. And so that really, as hard as it is, it's still a victorious struggle. You know, we're still living in the victory. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams, right? And so that to be able to experience, you know, the migration of whose point of view gets to tell this story, the wokeness, the sort of slow moving of the needle, to get to experience that in my lifetime is completely gratifying. In no uncertain terms. It's delicious. You know what I mean?
Very much so. And even for me, coming into this and knowing that you get it, right? Some people see the impact of their force afterwards when they're able to reflect. You're literally living this transformation within our culture and recognizing like, oh, I know exactly where we are. And I'm so happy that you're there experiencing that with me.
Yes,
So
buddy. You know, it's humbling. It's humbling, and it's so inspired, and so that I know that this is rarefied air to breathe, to be able to make my living as an artist over time. I mean, there's been real valleys. You know, that's why I'm thoroughly enjoying this new resurgence of being on small screens and large screens, and having conversations with you and with my audience at large, and growing that population, and being able to speak with this history. So it's it's good. It's lovely. And so I recognize that it's a privileged place to speak from. And with that privilege, I'm committed to making sure that I bring everybody with me. My heart space, what I stand for, what I'm here for, all of that is what I bring.
so looking at it right now, we got Candyman in the forefront, and let me just tell you right now, I do not do scary movies. I know
Okay,
you
me
don't
neither.
do scary
I'm
movies.
such a
I know.
scaredy
This is
cat.
why we're about to connect on another level.
Listen,
Let me
baby
tell
girl, I'm
you.
such a scaredy cat, and I did 2 scary movies
This
this
is what
year.
this is what I need you to get through me, because I refuse. I refuse. I refuse. So I want to know, because you also mentioned within a previous interview that you came in with a very spiritual background growing up. So you said you were, I think, raised Baptist, and
Yeah.
that, so they're very open. What I really do appreciate, because it's a double-edged sword, I really do appreciate them waking me up to the spirit and energy, and knowing what things feel like. But I think at the rate that they do it and how young they do it, it's a little traumatizing. My mom would literally, I would, be getting ready for bed, and she'd be like, I see a dark spirit around your bed. And I'm like, so I'm sleeping with you, right? Like, I'm not going to bed. So
Wait a
that
minute.
was
That is terrifying. Like,
traumatizing.
is your mom Caribbean? Are you Caribbean background?
No. My mom is just really spiritual, Christian based, but went off her own path. And love you,
Okay.
mom, because I don't want
No.
her to.
No, listen. Are you kidding?
But
The dark forces that are like, but at 5 years old, I don't need you to call them out for me. Like, I remember somebody telling me when my mom passed, as I was a child, that your mama might come back. I'm like, no, she won't. No, she
yeah,
won't. She knows.
don't do that.
So basically, they were warning me, like, if your mom comes back and tells you to come with her, don't go. And I was like, first of all,
Don't do
my
that.
mama is not going to do that, because my mama knows that would scare me. So I was like,
Yeah.
banish that thought.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
not even trying to live with that bullshit. So your mom, in her
innocence, like I
desire
said,
to take care of you and like bless the room and
I was
leave.
just like, so no, I'm not sleeping in the room. That was
Yeah, you
and
done
now
ruined it, mama.
at least I'm sleeping with you now, because if you
Right.
see a dark spirit, I'm trusting you as my mother to take care of that.
Wow.
But I needed to ask you, because not only I think it helps, right? I kind of answered my own question in my mind right now. I think it helps being behind the scenes of a scary movie to see what is actually fake, or or not fake, but like how they're setting it up.
I understand where you're going with this, for sure, because that was how I was able to watch the first movie, which is hella scary, and the second movie, which was hella scary, but for different major reasons. And as I was saying in another interview, the thing about this movie and it being unpacked and it being from the framework and the vision of and the experience of marginalized people, victimized people from this community, Black folk who are telling the story, it was terrifying in a way that you can't walk away from that terror. In the original movie, that wasn't so expounded upon, and so it was about the hauntingness of the myth that was created and told, and so in Candyman 2021, we really unpack that myth again from the perspective of the folks who are marginalized and impacted by it. And since we're speaking here about the DVD and digital release, it's like vitally important that people watch and get so much more full investigation. If I haven't mentioned this before, because I've been doing these interviews, so about the social impact initiative piece that's on the Blue. Have you seen that?
No.
Domingo.
Oh,
girl,
no.
This is what's so vitally important that people watch and know about all these extras, the alternate ending, the social impact panel, where they really break down scene by scene what the difference is. Oh no,
I
like
should.
it's so enriching. It's not even, it doesn't matter
Okay.
whether you see it before or after. In fact, when we had our screening, we saw it afterwards and it was
Okay.
so
So
fulfilling.
good.
It's so, so fulfilling just on these. So I recommend you do that if you have time before you read this, write this article, because
Yeah.
it's so vitally important and enriching. Like it's like, it's so mind blowing all the ways Nia and Jordan and Wynn got down with the script, got down with how they depicted it by not re-traumatizing the people who are victimized and traumatized. It shows that women's touch, that kind of woman's touch. Jordan speaks to why they selected Nia and just her particular point of view and way of storytelling, like because the storyteller matters, right? And so
Hmm.
to the degree that we get to be at the helm of it, it just
Yeah.
hits different, as the kids say.
Yeah.
It just hit
Yeah.
different.
Exactly. So I definitely want to bring it back, and center it back to you and your lifestyle. You mentioned within previous interviews of being vegan and the health behind that. Now, what I realized is, and this is why I'm very serious about devoting myself, it's going to take time. I know that it's going to take time, but especially around, if we can get really real, around my menstrual cycle, I
Oh
do
sure.
not crave I do not crave meat at all. Like, it's disgusting to me.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think I need to listen to that intuition, because something in my body is telling me, like, you don't need that density. You don't need, that heaviness or whatever comes around meat. So talk about your journey with that, being vegan, and how that's actually lightened your mind and you probably your senses. Um,
I mean, just on a purely like vanity kind of tip, it's like it's the fountain of youthfulness. Like
yeah.
honestly, it's why I don't have dark circles and I mean, some of that
Mm,
is genetic in my family, and God bless my mom and them. But
yeah.
part of it. But for sure, obesity, heart disease, all these things that run in the Black community run in my family too. And so,
Mm,
being intentional about what you put into your body, being intentional about so my journey, like I was eating everything. I was never like a big like thick steak eater and stuff like that. If I was eating
mhm.
steak, it was like a thin slice of T-bone steak or something, pepper steak, something like that. But moving away from meat some 30 some odd years ago, before it was cool, was like the best thing that I could have done
Could
in
have
my
done.
life.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like, my ex-husband, and it's sort of like, he's into jazz, he's a vegetarian. Oh, okay, let me try that too.
Sure.
So you realize that that our taste, we're slaves to our taste buds and to the
Mhm.
traditions. But what
Mhm.
was always fun for me was like veganizing all these traditional meals and things that are like, how can I make this vegan, how can I make this more healthy, how can I still satisfy my palate? So vegans, as you know now, there's so many options, but even back in the day when I first became vegan, it was about like making it as tasteful and wonderful so that I wasn't missing no flavor and
Right.
still being healthy, and
Right.
and its longevity. I don't take a whole bunch of medicines. It's just
Mm.
it's the way of maintaining your health, and it's good for the planet. So even if it's not every single meal, like start just cutting out not having meat with every single meal. How about doing it
Mm.
like one day a week? Let's see, 2 days a week. Seeing how long you can go. As you were saying, like your menstrual cycle is sort of like your natural guidance to saying, I don't want this. I don't want this now. So seeing how many days after your cycle you can go before you need to have some meat. And then if you do, you don't have it at every single meal. Like if we're just talking maybe
Mhm.
personally, right? Like that would be
Mhm.
a way in. And another thing that really, because I'm kind of like a head, heart, holistic kind of person. So things trigger me on many different levels. So while I'm fasting or while I'm moving toward
Mhm.
a more healthy lifestyle, I watch all the movies that are out that give me the
Mm.
reasons. And so like movies like Forks Over Knives, um, all these litany of films about what the food industry, and it's changed so much over the years. There's so many additives, so read your labels, just read your
Yeah.
labels, make a healthier choice like that. I mean, it's easier to do. There's so much free stuff on YouTube, and it's just really about like having the discipline to, because your taste buds can change in 30 days,
Yeah.
and so that it just becomes like, a way to be social, you know, something new. But you're young enough, beautiful enough to make that change so that you maintain all of this for as long as possible. And when it starts to move, it's gentle and it's like,
Yes.
you know, you know, it's and like I said, there are more carbon emissions from processing and making of meat and meat products than all
Mm-hmm.
the cars on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So like while
Mm-hmm.
we definitely want to move to electric,
That'll
and
stick with me. That'll stick with me. That's all you had to say. That I'm, you know, I'm already into the seafood, but that definitely sealed some deals.
You need to see Conspiracy, because it's like anything with a face, anything that
Yes.
has to be harnessed, anything, you know, anything that got a mama, you know, that's not what's natural. I know.
Well, thank you again, Miss Vanessa. I really do.
I'm on like dairy as opposed to like dairy. Like I had to, like, as I love me some milk and cheese products mostly. So I like in this last, you know, few months since pandemic and stuff, I really got myself off cheese, because I would have cheese occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the movie, the movie that I just watched that made that really, really stick for me again, that
Mm-hmm.
I watched when I was doing a fast. But, you know, I breastfed my babies for 2 years, each of them. The one that's turning 18 today and the one that's 24. And that is the perfect food for a child. And no other creature drinks the milk or the milk product of another creature. It's for baby cows.
Yes.
And you know how big a cow has to get.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's what it's, and it's pus, you know, so like don't have me go there, because it really, and that, so like every time I think about, oh, a little like, no, that's pus. And it's so like the ramifications on it. So girl.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Luckily, I was born with a very high allergy to dairy, so I never in my life tasted it. So,
but many black melanated folk are, and that's not an accident, you know. So that we've got to listen to those cues in our body and about sustaining this planet, because we've taken so advantage of Mother Nature. We have not been good shepherds of the land, and so these are important steps that we make. And because Black people, communities like Cabrini Green, like Bed-Stuy, where I grew up, are food deserts, like all of that economic, and that's another kind of violence as well, that we can't get fresh vegetables. That's another kind of way that's being marginalized, that the system marginalizes. You know, it's very, very complex, and we got to be woke and stay woke and make those better decisions and demand that with our dollars and with how we move in the world.
Yeah,
all of that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the makings of another horror movie. Thank you so much. Right? Thank you so much, Vanessa Estelle Williams, for everything that you are and everything that you've contributing. I thank you for giving us the time. Hollywood Melanin, once again, my name's Betti. But I hope you have a really good day, and happy birthday to your son. Thank you, Betti. I'm going to tag you on Instagram. You're darling. And please do. Yeah. Okay. All right, my dear. God bless you. Have a good one. You do